Everyone's asking the wrong question about gold and silver for 2026. People keep asking, how many ounces should I own? But that's a rookie mistake. It frames the whole discussion around getting rich. And that's not what this is about. The real question, the one that actually matters, is this: what kind of crisis am I trying to survive? Because, let's be brutally honest, gold and silver aren't designed to make you wealthy. Their historical purpose is to keep you from being completely wiped out when the systems we rely on every day start to fail. And history doesn't whisper this point, it screams it from the rooftops. Look at any major monetary reset in history. When Rome started debasing its currency, when the Weimar Republic fell into hyperinflation, when Great Britain lost its status as the world's reserve currency, or even when the US slammed the gold window shut in 1971. In every single one of these world-changing events, one thing was consistent: precious metals did not skyrocket in value first. What happened first was that paper assets, stocks, bonds, currencies, they all collapsed. The metals simply held their ground, preserving purchasing power, while everything else built on trust and paper promises turned to dust. This distinction is absolutely critical. Gold is not an investment you add to your portfolio hoping it beats the S&P 500. It is financial insurance. It's the fire extinguisher on your wall. You don't own it hoping your house burns down. You own it in case it does. Silver is not a speculative bet you make hoping for a short squeeze. It is your source of liquidity for when confidence in the system breaks down completely. So, when we look ahead to 2026, the real danger isn't just another market crash. We've seen those before. The true threat is a trust event, a crisis of faith, a moment where people lose trust in currencies, in the global debt markets, and the promises that their pensions will be there, and in the fundamental belief that the person or institution on the other side of a transaction will actually make good on their word. When that trust shatters, it's not a slow decline. It's a sudden, catastrophic failure of access. ATMs go dark, credit card systems freeze up, banks impose withdrawal limits or go on holidays, and all that wealth you thought you had, the wealth that only exists as digital numbers on a computer screen, suddenly becomes unreachable. It's still yours, technically, but you can't access it. You can't use it. That is the exact moment when physical precious metals become indispensable, not for making you a profit, but for the simple continuity of life. For buying food, for paying for essentials, for maintaining your family's well-being when the digital world is locked down. Now here's the part that most people, even those interested in metals, never really learn. It's a pattern that has repeated across centuries. The societies and the individuals who managed to preserve stability and dignity during these currency breakdowns followed a surprisingly simple proportional rule. The people who survived with their lives intact, not living in luxury, but with stability, were those who held between 10% and 25% of their total net worth in physical, tangible precious metals. Gold served as their bedrock, their long-term store of value, while silver provided the day-to-day transactional liquidity. This isn't some abstract theory I cooked up. This is pattern recognition from studying centuries of financial crises. If people held less than 10% of their net worth in physical metal, they were dangerously exposed. They were at the mercy of the failing system. But if they held more than 25%, they were often overconcentrated. They sacrificed the flexibility and opportunity that other assets, even in a crisis, can provide. That 10% to 25% range seems to be the historical sweet spot for resilience. Let's break down the rules. Gold's historical function is for large-scale value preservation. Think of it as your personal treasury. It's what you would use to secure a major asset like property, to fund a relocation to a safer area, or to provide the seed capital to rebuild your life after the dust settles. It's dense, it's universally recognized, and it's for big-ticket items. Silver is the workhorse. It has a different but equally important job. Silver's historical function is to facilitate daily life when normal currency fails. It's for buying food, paying for services, getting fuel for your car, and engaging in local trade. It's divisible, it's accessible, and it's what keeps the gears of your personal economy turning. There's a reason why, throughout history, civilizations hoarded silver at the street level for commerce and gold at the treasury level for wealth preservation. The two metals work together as a team. So if you're still watching this and your mind is stuck on price predictions, will gold hit 3,000? Will silver hit 50? You need to shift your entire mindset. This isn't about forecasting a price. This is about securing coverage. It's about ensuring that the wealth you've worked your entire life to build survives a systemic shock intact. It's about making sure your wealth doesn't get haircut by bank bail-ins, frozen by capital controls, inflated away to nothing, or simply restructured out of existence by a desperate government. And this brings me to the most uncomfortable reality of all. The vast majority of people, come 2026, will own exactly 0 ounces of physical metal, not 1 gram. And it won't be because they made a conscious choice not to. It will be because they waited too long. They thought they had more time. Here's what happens during a real crisis of confidence. First, premiums on physical metal explode. The difference between the paper spot price and what you actually pay for a coin or bar in your hand can double, triple, or go even higher overnight. Next, supply completely vanishes. Dealers are sold out, mints can't keep up. The available inventory gets snapped up in hours, not days. And finally, all those paper substitutes that people thought were good enough start to fail. The ETFs, the futures contracts, the unallocated accounts, people will discover that owning a promise for metal is not the same as owning the metal itself. They'll find they don't have access when it's most critical. They own a claim, not an asset. Before we get into the specific numbers and what this all means for you personally, take a moment. If you're looking for analysis that cuts through the mainstream noise and gives you the unvarnished truth, make sure you subscribe to this channel and watch this video all the way to the end. Because the figures I'm about to share aren't popular. They won't get you excited about getting rich quick, but they are historically accurate, and they are based on centuries of evidence. So let's talk numbers. The average household net worth in a developed country is a complex figure. How does that break down between gold and silver? A common historical split is about 75% in gold for wealth preservation and 25% in silver for liquidity. So, for our family, aiming for the 10% allocation of $50,000, that would mean roughly $37,500 in gold and $12,500 in silver. At today's prices, that's about 16 ounces of gold and around 400 ounces of silver. That's not a treasure chest, but it's a foundation. It's the insurance policy. Now let's look at the upper end, the 25% allocation, or $125,000. That would translate to about $93,750 in gold and $31,250 in silver. That's approximately 40 ounces of gold and over 1,000 ounces of silver. This is a much more robust position, designed for someone who is either more concerned about the severity of a potential crisis or who has a larger family and more complex needs to cover. These numbers might seem large, even intimidating, but remember the context. This isn't play money. This is a percentage of your total life savings being converted from one form of asset, digital and paper, into another form, physical, tangible, and outside the system. It's a diversification not for gain, but for survival. The real question now is for you. Forget the hypothetical family. Look at your own situation. What is your net worth? What does that 10% to 25% range look like for you? Do you even have 1%? Do you own any physical metal at all? Or is 100% of your wealth trapped inside the very system that history shows is so fragile? This isn't about fear, it's about foresight. It's about understanding the game being played and knowing the historical rules for survival. The window to act, to convert a portion of your paper wealth into real, physical assets, is closing. Every day you wait, the risk increases and the cost of protection goes up. Don't be one of the people who waited too long, who thought it couldn't happen here, who discovered too late that their wealth was just a number on a screen they could no longer access. Take a look at your own numbers, understand the historical precedent, and decide for yourself if you've made the cut. Let's get specific. Not sensational, not emotional, but precise. Safety in 2026 is not about owning some gold or a few silver coins. Safety is about coverage ratios relative to expenses, geography, and exposure to systemic risk. Start with silver, because silver is what keeps life functioning when payment systems fail. Historically, during currency disruptions, 1 ounce of silver has covered roughly 3 to 7 days of basic living expenses, depending on location and severity. That relationship holds across centuries because silver's purchasing power adjusts as currency collapses. Using conservative math, a household aiming for 6 to 12 months of basic continuity of food, utilities, fuel, local services would require 100 to 250 ounces of physical silver per adult, with additional buffer if dependents are involved. Less than 100 ounces means vulnerability. More than 300 ounces begins shifting from safety to concentration. This is not about stacking endlessly, it's about ensuring liquidity when nothing else works. Now, gold. Gold's role is different. Gold does not buy groceries, it preserves strategic mobility. Historically, 1 ounce of gold has preserved the ability to relocate, restart, or store large value across borders. During resets, gold tends to reprice against real assets like land, businesses, and labor. A household targeting long-term financial safety historically held 5 to 10 ounces of gold per adult to preserve purchasing power across a reset cycle. Below 3 ounces leaves you exposed to confiscation via inflation and debt restructuring. Above 15 ounces increases political and storage risk unless properly diversified. This isn't theory. This framework mirrors what private banks advised high net worth families privately throughout the 20th century. And here's the brutal truth most channels won't say. Paper gold and silver do not count. ETFs, unallocated accounts, pooled storage, futures contracts. These are claims, not metal. In a liquidity event, claims are settled in cash. Cash is the very thing failing. Safety requires physical possession or fully allocated, segregated storage outside the banking system. If you cannot take delivery, you do not own it. Now let's address the elephant in the room, affordability. Most people will say, I can't afford that. That is exactly why most people are not safe. Monetary resets do not reward fairness, they reward preparation. Throughout history, even small accumulators who reached minimum thresholds fared dramatically better than those with none. The most dangerous position in 2026 is not owning too little, it is owning zero, while assuming systems will function as they always have, because they never do. If you want a simple benchmark, below 5% net worth in physical metals is exposed, 10-15% is defensive, 20% is robust, and above 25% should be managed carefully. That's it. No hype, no apocalypse narrative. Just math, history, and human behavior. The question is not whether gold and silver will go higher. The question is whether you will still have options when confidence breaks. So now the real question, and answer it honestly in the comments, do you make the cut for 2026, or are you still betting your future on promises that have failed every civilization before ours?